You are investing in the people. And if you don't get to know the people, then you're investing blind. Like a copper mine, some copper mines go for 100 years. And to me, that speaks to, the kind of mailbox money I want to get. I don't want to slave my whole life.
All right, so we have Terry and from Nova Royalty to discuss this most recent news to acquire an existing 0.98 royalty on Los Andes Copper project to increase debt faculty with Beedie capital to 28.5 million Canadian.
It is a silly question, I know that, but what is the royalty business in the mining sector?
I've answered this question so many times for so many retail investors. They get into they buy the stock and then they figure out what a royalty is later. Essentially, you have exploration companies, production companies, and royalty companies. And what royalty companies do is at various stages of discovery, if you're a geologist and you stake some claims and you get a royalty on a property, for that royalty to come into play, it will take years and years and years. But you hang on to them because they're very valuable. And a royalty is a portion of the net proceeds that come out of that mine. In this case, Nova Royalty will get a almost 1% royalty on any of the metal that comes out of the ground at this project. You get the royalty off the top. So whether the mine is profitable or not, you're paid on that regardless. So you're not dependent on, commodity price. You're not dependent on, cost overrun building the mine. It's a lot less risk. But again, over time, when these companies become very big and very profitable, the exciting part is that the investor also gets paid. So you're not only getting share appreciation, but you're possibly getting a dividend over time.
0.98%. How really big is that? Can you give us like an example on, let's say, in 10 years when the mine is developed and producing? How big could that be for the investors? It's just 0.98% itself.
This project is big now, but these projects get bigger. On a large scale project, like a copper project, it's a lot of money over potentially generations. So not only will you get paid, likely your children will be paid on these assets. Typically a copper project scales as they go into production. Yeah. There's a lot of royalty companies out there. Most are in precious metals, and that's just the way it's been for forever. And Nova just happens to be the first mover in the copper and nickel sector. When you look at the scale of some of these copper mines, they're massive. Like a copper mine, some copper mines go for 100 years. And to me, that speaks to, the kind of mailbox money I want to get. I don't want to slave my whole life.
Just to add a little bit on the explanation on the royalty business that you have just explained, when I was digging a little bit deeper into the business model, the business that Nova is in is kind of like a no-brainer for investor, because understanding that the royalty could provide kind of like a stable revenue stream for the company later on when all of the mines are in the production, it's much less risky, and shareholders at that time can obviously have many values from the company, and one of them is, as you said, it's the dividends that the company kind of like intends to pay for all of the shareholders. And I think I didn't really have any knowledge about this kind of business model in the mining sector, but I was really excited, when reading this press release and learning more about what Nova is doing at the moment. And I think as a young and a curious soul, reading this press release, it was really kind of like triggering my learning curve and kind of like tempting me to learn more about the company and this press release. I guess my follow-up question would be how this deal would contribute to your project pipeline, and how significant it is to your bottom line?
Good question. I think Nova's strategy is to acquire as many of the biggest and strongest projects that are being pushed quickly towards production by majors. And actually, this project isn't owned by a major. One of the only ones in our portfolio that of the 5, 6 big ones we have that isn't owned by a major, to really put in a foundation for the company.
Honestly, my follow-up question with this is your affiliation with Resource Capital Funds and how significant that is.
Resource Capital Funds is one of the largest mining funds in the world. They have an exceptional reputation. They're an incredible partner to have. They're extremely technical. They really see having them take shares in Nova was a wonderful sign of, trust and the belief that we're on the right path and we're making the right decisions. Again, they're one of the, if not the one of the top 3 mining funds in the world. And we're pretty excited to have them on the roster.
Another question quickly on the tons itself. So the PEA came out to be 45 years open pit mine life and also 110,000 tons per day. How significant is that?
They did that study on a $3 copper price. So I don't know what copper is trading today, but
370? Yeah.
370. So the math based on $3, as you can see, after tax is 1.8. And that's at a $3 copper price. So if copper starts running, these numbers keep changing. And again, if copper starts dropping, the numbers will keep changing. But what people need to realize as well is it doesn't matter whether the mine is profitable or not. If it's in production, Nova will get paid whether it's profitable or not. And also, as the price increases, everybody wins.
This one is spoken from my experience with one of my mining clients. I still remember that time the client was about to acquire a very significant project from a big name. And there was so many investors. They looked at the cash standing of the company. And like many of them thought that the company couldn't pull this off because, well, investor thought the guys have, like no money at that time. And I did a little dig in when I was reading this press release. I went on Nova's website, reading the presentation of the company, and I saw that the cash outstanding of the company was sitting at around, if I'm not mistaken, it's around like 5 or 6 million, right? But still, like we need kind of like an influx of cash to kind of like facilitate the deal. So, and I noticed that we mentioned Beedie Capital in the press release. So how significant is the help of Beedie Capital to this deal?
We're so excited that Beedie Capital decided to increase their stake. One, it gives us the ability to move faster through our plan. It gives us the ability to execute upon more royalties with confidence. The interesting thing about Beedie Capital is Beedie made all of his money in real estate, I'm pretty sure. And just recently over the years, he's pivoted into investing into mining, which to me boasts so much confidence in the sector. And knowing that he's leaning into a royalty company really is exciting, especially in copper. And I think he's made the connection of where things are going and has put a lot of trust in us to execute and a lot of dollars behind that. Beedie Capital, they're a very, very smart group of people. They make very sound investments. They've built an empire on their own. And so I think they really do believe in the vision that Alex has outlined for the company over, like I said, we are building a generational company. This is the beginning of something really special. We just need to keep going, and having this loan facility will help us do just that.
If someone did have a question, how can they reach out to you?
Oh my gosh. If somebody has a question, please call the company at all times. Never invest in a company where you don't get to know the people.
Yeah.
That's my tip of the day. Just honestly, the Nova website, there is contact information. You can go in and book yourself a meeting with management. Management's always available to all shareholders, large or small, prospective or current. You know, our investors are our lifeblood. They sustain this company. Beedie Capital and Resource Capital Funds are our prime shareholders. That said, we take all of our shareholders seriously, whether they're you know, smaller or extremely large. The retail investor is a massive component, will be a massive component of our success. So if we don't make time for them, we're dead in the water. So call the company, book a meeting, ask your questions, take initiative. Don't be afraid. There is no stupid question. You know, I've answered a million times what a royalty is. I've answered a million times what an NSR is. And I love answering those questions. Like, they're important questions to ask and they're important questions to answer. And that's what we're here for.
I think that's the best way to share that with our investors, that is the main take of this interview, and follow up with the recommendation is to book an appointment, book a management call, and get to know the management that you're investing in.